Russia, we've had the death of Alexey Navalny, and we also have, obviously, with all of this, a war that's been going on for 2 years now that is costing Russia an awful lot of soldiers and costing an awful lot of money as well. What's the public feel about all of this?
There's a lot of gloom and doom, Claire, in the streets of Moscow and the big cities. Body bags are coming back, not just to the poor regions. You're seeing mothers and you're seeing wives mobilizing against the war, and they're saying, "Bring our boys home." And you saw that as well being manifested at Alexey Navalny's funeral 2 weeks ago. For the first time in 2 years, people felt they had a voice. They were inspired by Alexey Navalny to actually speak up and call for a Россия без Putina, Russia without Putin. And they were calling Putin a murderer on the streets of Moscow. So there's a chance this could be repeated actually at the weekend when the elections take place.
Okay, that we will see protest.
So Alexei Navalny on February 1st, 2 weeks before he was killed in the Gulag in the Arctic, he called for a flash mob across Russia, across the 11 time zones. So for people to come out and vote at 12 o'clock, at high noon in Moscow, Vladivostok, Kaliningrad in the Baltics, and to vote for anybody but Putin, even for the straw men, or to spoil their votes, and to come out with flowers. So the authorities can't really, block them because they're going to vote to exercise their democratic mandate, and so they should be safe from being thrown in paddy wagons.
And just tell us, the logistics of this. Will he go unopposed, or are there other names in the ballot?
So in this particular election, there is just systemic opposition. So you have the Communist Party, you have the Liberal Democrats, who are actually ultranationalists, and one other party, which is a fig leaf towards the Liberals. And these guys will vote for everything in the Duma that Putin asked for. They will vote for another mobilization of the army.
Now, Vladimir Putin has told the West that Russia is technically ready for nuclear war, and that if US sent troops to Ukraine, that would be considered a significant escalation of the conflict. Are these hollow threats, or is there a real fear that we could see an escalation and that nuclear threat would become a real one?
I think we've seen a lot of bluster. If you go through the records, every week somebody from Putin's Politburo makes a threat to turn the West into nuclear ash. We've seen it from Dmitry Medvedev, the former president, who is now deputy head of the Security Council. And we saw it a year ago from Dmitry Kisilov, who's one of Putin's main propagandists. And he actually had an infographic whereby Ireland was wiped off the map in an attack against Britain. So this is a lot of bluster, I think, unless Putin is put into a corner whereby maybe Crimea could be taken back by the Ukrainians, and he might launch a tactical nuclear strike. So not yet.
What's happening, and we mentioned it there, on Russia's borders with these threats by pro-Ukraine militia groups there? Is there any real significance in that activity?
I think it's a real moral boost for the Ukrainians. So they're losing ground in Donetsk and eastern Ukraine. They lost Avdiivka not so long ago. So these guys are Russian partisans who are backed by the Ukrainians, who operate from Ukraine, and they launch sorties into places like Kursk and Belgorod. Belgorod is a city 40 kilometers inside Russian territory, and it's being bombed on a daily basis. And we're also seeing, Claire, as well, which is very important, Ukrainian drones have hit 14 refineries and fuel depots right across Russia and near Moscow. So this is going to put pressure on prices, and there could be fuel shortages in Russia, which will really hit public morale.
And briefly, an end to all of this. We knew it was going to be a long, protracted war. We're more than 2 years in at this point. What does an off-ramp look like?
At the moment, Russia has the momentum in eastern Ukraine, unfortunately, and this seems to be the only off-ramp, and the pressure is being exerted on Ukraine and President Zelensky, whereby they would agree a deal whereby they would have to cede some of the existing territory that Russia holds. But things can change.
All right, Jason, thank you for joining us on the programme tonight. That is it from us. Our programme is available as a podcast on all major platforms.